Meeting of the Economic Development Committee, April 2nd. Ask the council to call the roll.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Demalowitz.
Here.
Miller.
Present.
Epicoro.
Here.
Kuhn.
Here.
Reedy is excused. Robinson.
Here.
Petto. Here. Collins.
Here.
And Drake. You
Beautiful.
have a form.
Thank you. We called this meeting tonight to bring in our economic development czar, Kevin O'Connor, to give us an update of what's going on in Albany County and what the future of economic development is in Albany County, and if there's any questions that the committee or members might have in relationship to economic development. So with that, Kevin, you have the floor.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Gary said, I'm Kevin O'Connor. I'm the Director of Economic Development for Albany County and the CEO of the Advanced Albany County Alliance. What I'd like to do tonight is just tell you a little bit about, what our plan is for economic development in the county, what are some of the achievements we have, and what are some of the opportunities we have before us. I've got a package in front of you, and inside your package you'll find the summary of our economic development strategy, which the county executive had commissioned in 2020, and the annual report from 2023 that kind of lists some of the things that we're into. But the county legislature's been very generous in support of the Alliance and our efforts, and I just wanted to introduce you to the people in the Alliance who are doing all this work that I'm going to be talking about. First, I'd like to introduce Amy Thompson, who's the CFO of the Alliance, Antoinette Dukes-Hodge, who's the Executive Assistant to the Alliance, Rosemary McHugh, who's our Economic Development Coordinator, and Kevin Catalano, who's Senior VP and Director of Commercial Lending. So let me just get right into it. Inside, I gave each of you an agenda that I tried to annotate so you can follow along. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. Economic development in Albany County, we at the Alliance, we kind of refer to it as the 3 Ps. People, power, and places. You have to have the people, you have to have the workforce. That's the biggest thing that companies are asking for us to identify and quantify before they'll move or expand in Albany County. You have to have the power. We're attracting huge manufacturing companies into our county, and the thing that they need is significant amounts of power, and we have some challenges, particularly down the southern end of our county, the Port of Clemens, where we're seeing a lot of activity down there. We need to do some major power upgrades. And lastly, but is equally as important, is we need to have the sites. We need to have the so-called shovel-ready sites that we can have companies move into in a relatively short period of time. If we tell a company it's going to take you a year or 2 years to get into a site, many times they'll go on and look for something else. But let me just kind of go through a little bit about our strategy. The strategy called for us to create a one-stop shop, and we did that in the Albany County Business Hub. It's located at 111 Washington Avenue, and in there we have all of our economic development agencies. Chairman Demalowitz is also chairman of the Capital Resources Corporation. The Capital Resources Corporation is located there. Chairman Bill Clay, who chairs our IDA, is also located there, and as well as the Albany County Business Development Corporation, in which we have our Altech Loan Fund, and we also have the Albany County Land Bank co-located there. Now, the Alliance staff manages all of those agencies except the Land Bank. That's independently managed. Actually, we have a new director, I'm told, of the Land Bank, a gentleman by the name of Sean McGuire. Some of you may remember him. Apparently, he worked at Albany County in the past. We also have a couple of advisory councils to the Alliance, to help us kind of think through some of the issues and identify some of the opportunities and the potential. Hi, Wanda. Hey. Two of our advisory councils include the Local Government Economic Development Working Group, which is the local economic development for all of our cities, towns, and villages in the county, and then our our minority business, our minority work business and MWBE group, who advises us on minority and women business development issues in the county. Some of the advancements that we've seen happen so far is, since we started, which is only in 2020, is we've taken back the Altech loan from the Capital Region Chamber. Capital Region Chamber used to be the Albany Colony Chamber, and now that it grew outside of Albany County, we felt it was appropriate for the Altech Loan Fund to come back to a county-run organization. As many of you know, the Altech Loan Fund can only be spent on businesses within Albany County. We have about a $20 million loan fund. About $10 million of that is out in loan receivables. We have about $9 or $10 million that we still can lend out. As many of you know, we created the so-called STAGE Act, the Sustainable Energy and Green Technology Program. And that's a grant program to attract, retain, and create new businesses in certain particular industries, more the green energy and sustainable technology, offshore wind, alternative energy, and the like. As you all know, we cited Plug Power's new next-gen manufacturing facility out at the Vista Technology Campus in spanning the towns of Bethlehem and New Scotland. Created about 1,600 net new jobs in the county, and it's responsible for about $140 million investment out there. And you've just heard recently that Plug Power is now planning on moving its headquarters out to the Vista Technology Campus, which will be even an increase of jobs because they're consolidating some of their operations outside of New York State into the county. So all good. The largest opportunity that I see for the county is our offshore wind initiative. The Governor Hochul and the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority has been promoting offshore wind. These will be, huge wind towers that will be off the coast of New York State. And we've been working with companies that represent about $2 billion of investment in the ports of Albany and the ports of Queens. Most recently, GE announced that they're going to be building an $800 million turbine manufacturing facility down in the Port of Queens. And, that's a tremendous investment, and, thousands of new jobs will be a result of that. And it's the dual benefit and advantage of creating alternative energy sources and bringing all manufacturing jobs, green manufacturing jobs to Albany County. Last year, we also attracted the Regeneron Pharmaceutical Company into the village of Menands. Many of you may recall the old Two Guys department store in Menands. That is now been bought by Regeneron, and we've got 80 jobs there, and I think we'll see some more activity there. But that's a $27 million investment for those 80 jobs. The areas of focus going forward that I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about is, we see a kind of reversal of what in manufacturing that we've experienced over the last 30 years, since I've been doing economic development. We saw a lot of manufacturing go down south, and then from down south, it went completely offshore to overseas, much of which in China. Well, what we see now happening is something that the experts call reshoring or rehoming. A lot of the companies that moved their plants overseas are now bringing them back. And it's in the advent of the pandemic where it showed that we had some national security vulnerabilities because much of our manufacturing was being done offshore, and the components that were being manufactured are used in our national defense and cybersecurity and so on, not the least of which is the semiconductor industry. So our staff and I are looking very, very aggressively at foreign direct investment back into the area. And it's, bless you, and it's, in my opinion, it's an unprecedented time for the growth in manufacturing. You've heard about some of this in upstate New York. Micron just built a semiconductor manufacturing facility, or is in the process of building one outside of the city of Syracuse in Clay, New York. Wolfspeed, another semiconductor company, is building a facility up out in Utica. And of course, Global Foundries just announced that they're building another chip fab manufacturing facility up in Saratoga County. These investments represent billions of dollars of investments and require, thousands of trained individuals. Again, that's why workforce is so important. The offshore wind thing is going to be, has the potential to be a huge benefit going forward. There is some, kind of fits and starts with that. There have been some issues in front of the Public Service Commission about how much the offshore wind providers are able to charge for the power that they create. But I'm pretty confident that that's going to get straightened out, and if it does, the Capital Region and Albany County in particular stands to be a big winner because of that, because we've got, again, two of the preferred manufacturing sites are the Port of Albany and the Port of Queens. We're going to continue to work with Plug Power. You've heard in the papers that they've had some setbacks, but this is in my opinion something that is not unexpected in a brand new industry. These guys are trying to, they're manufacturing power systems in an entirely new entirely new source of energy, hydrogen. It basically has no emissions, but there are going to be some fits and starts as they go up against the fossil fuel energy companies. Again, I said Regeneron. I think we're going to see some additional activity there, and that whole industry, the life sciences or pharmaceutical industry, I think is also very fertile ground for Albany County. In addition to Regeneron, we have the old Albany Molecular Research Company, which is now known as Curia, and so we've got some skilled workforce there, and I think we can expect to see some really good things happening there. We've got the semiconductor industry. We're fortunate to have Senator Schumer from New York State. It was the majority leader in the U.S. Senate. Senator Schumer has been the champion for the semiconductor industry nationwide, and again, promoting American-made semiconductor equipment to make sure we maintain our national security edge. And we've got many other active leads that we're working on, many of which I can't mention the names of because we have non-disclosure agreements, so they're just not ready to go. But one of the major pieces that we have to do in the county is we've got to have the sites, the so-called shovel-ready sites available for companies when they're looking at Albany County. And to that end, you all know that the county engaged in an engineering study for the so-called Heritage Park or Ann Lee Home site, which is about a 27-acre site right adjacent to our airport. Many of you remember the old Heritage Park baseball facility there, but that's a fantastic site, somewhat limited on the amount of power we can get in there, so I don't think we'll see heavy manufacturing going in there, but I think some light industrial uses, maybe in the semiconductor area, would be ideal for that site. We also supported the Center for Economic Growth and the town of Queens in what they called a Fast New York grant, which is a grant from the Empire State Development Corporation to assist in getting shovel-ready sites. They were awarded $17 million to increase the power systems going into the Port of Queens and the surrounding area. The manufacturing facilities in offshore wind are huge power users, and our power system is somewhat plagued by a bit of deferred maintenance in the distribution network that we're looking at. So this is a crucial thing that we need to continue to work on, not only down in Queens, but all over the county, and it's a problem of all over upstate New York. You probably heard of Central Warehouse in downtown Albany, our favorite eyesore. The county has submitted a grant, or actually we submitted a letter of intent to apply for a grant from ESD for $10 million to demolish that facility. As you know, it's the Central Warehouse is now owned by the Redburn company, And, we're gonna be working with them, hopefully we'll get awarded the $10 million from the state, and we'll be able to help in the costs of demolishing that building. So there's a lot more to be done on that and a lot more to be said. There are a series of other private sites that we've identified. We've done a shovel-ready site study of the county to identify sites and what level of shovel readiness they're at. And, there's a lot of work to be done on that. One that we've had some very good luck with is the Altex Specialty Steel facility. It's in Watervliet. It is probably one of the single best industrial development sites we have in the county. Unfortunately, it is a New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Superfund site. And right now, we're in the process of negotiating a liability agreement with the Department of Environmental Conservation, after which we can take control of the site. The county legislature approved the transfer of that site to the Alliance once we're ready to take it. And I think it's going to be a challenging site to develop, but I think it's worth the effort. The Department of Environmental Conservation has mitigated all the surface contamination on the site, which was primarily asbestos, but they've also agreed that it would be better for the environment to leave the contamination that's in the ground, which is some of the more serious contamination, that they feel it's better to leave it there and to cap the facility. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking that site over, and we'll have some 65, 70 acres of industrial site. But the reason why I say it's probably one of the best sites is because it's got rail, water, sewer, and all the power that we could possibly need on that site, because of the infrastructure is still there from when it was the Altex Specialty Steel Corporation. So that's going to take some time. I'd say probably a year to 18 months for us to get that site ready. But once it is, I think we're going to have a very good site, and might be right for semiconductor manufacturers, maybe some of the offshore wind supply companies, maybe some of the electronic vehicle component manufacturers, battery, something along those lines. But what we want to see happen there is companies that are making significant capital investments and hiring significant number of jobs, high-paying manufacturing jobs. So in conclusion, I hope I don't sound like an ingrate, because the county has been great in supporting economic development. We've got the results, you've got the results to show for it. But what we've got is not enough. We're up against the likes of Schenectady County with their Metroplex, and in the economic strategy report, you can see on page 7, there's a little description of what Schenectady Metroplex is about. And they get 1% of the sales tax every year to the tune of about $10 to $12 million. And they basically use that money to rebuild downtown Schenectady, Mohawk Harbor. They've just announced that they're building they're calling it a hockey arena for Union College, but Bob Belver from the MVP Arena tells me that it's going to be competition for him for some of the entertainment venues, and it's going to be direct competition to our Palace Theater in downtown Albany. And good for them. You don't want to stop their development, but we have to have the resources to be able to compete with them and write down the cost of doing business in our county. I'm really focused on sticking to our knitting, sticking to the strategy that we have. We can't be all things to all people. We're not going to turn people away, but the things we're going to actively pursue and go after the most are things that are part of our strategy, which is in the document that I handed out to you. And we need, as Schenectady has, a source of recurring revenue. I don't know if that's the hotel tax or the so-called Airbnb tax, or some other source of funding, but without that, we can. What Schenectady does is they use that sales tax as a way to finance issue bonds and use that money to pay the debt service on these bonds that they'll give out to build things like Mohawk Harbor, where the casino is and where this new arena is. It's quite a development down there. And by the way, that was also a brownfield site similar to the Altex Steel site that we're doing up in Watervliet. But, again, with additional resources, we can make significant things happen. It's not for the lack of opportunity. We've got plenty of that. I'd say between offshore wind and the semiconductor industry, we can change the economic complex of our county. There are some areas of our county that are particularly troubled. The city of Albany is one of them. The downtown commercial office market has fallen through the floor. It's amazing. You folks have heard it. I interview people, and the first thing they ask me is, how many days a week do I have to be in the office? And my response is, only 5. But people expect to work remotely. And when people work remotely, companies don't need as much office space as they once had. And there's a looming crisis in the commercial office market that we will feel in this county, and the city is going to feel even more so. Even now, we're hard pressed to find a place to go to lunch in downtown Albany. It's not because there aren't people that aren't willing to open up places, but the market isn't there. The state workers are not back, and many of the other office workers are, working remotely. So, with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd open it up to any questions. And again, I did want to thank the legislature for their support and their foresight in recreating the county's economic development entity after having a hiatus of some 10 or 15 years. So, but again, thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much. And we're going to tip our hat to the county executive that it was his vision
Right.
who got behind the alliance and making it go forward and making sure that all these wonderful things are happening here in Albany County.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Kevin?
Gary, I just wanted to
Yeah.
on that point, the county executive has not only, helped do the study, but the county executive has actually gone out on calls with me to other states to visit companies to try to encourage them to come into it. He's really committed to this, and you need that. You need to have the top elected official in the county going out there and telling companies that they're welcome to come in there. And County Executive McCoy has done a great job on that. As you all know, he's quite the salesman.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Kevin.
Sure.
First one, just you answered part of it about the Altex site and when it might be ready for businesses. What about the Ann Lee site? What's the timing on that one? Hopeful timing.
Matt, I've got a meeting scheduled to meet with Town Supervisor Crummy, because the gating issue is going to be what is the land use planning process that we're gonna have to go through to develop that site. Some of you you've been down this road before with the Soldier On development, and is this gonna require a full EIS to be done there? And those are questions we just have to, listen, I've got activity right now. I've got companies calling me, the word is out on that site. The folks that do the property development for Amazon, Skinnell Properties, has called me several times. I'm not sure that a warehouse and distribution facility is the best use for that site. We want high capital investment and large numbers of jobs there. That's why you're spending taxpayer dollar for this, to create economic opportunity for the people of our county. So it's TBD,
Okay.
Matt.
All right. No good
But
answer.
I'll get back to you, as we make some progress on that.
Okay. You talked about resources too, and then, some people on the committee here are new, the new legislature this year, and even some of us that started 4 years ago, COVID came through all that, and that's when it was just coming into place. So can you just go over the resource, where you get money from now? And what
Yeah,
that
right
breakdown
now, well, Chairman Demolowitz is one of our benefactors. We have a management agreement with the Capital Resources Corporation, with the IDA, and we manage the Albany County Business Development Corporation. We get some funds from that, but the county generally gives us $500,000 a year. This year, we got a little bit more than that because there was some ARPA funding around. So, you know, we have all the money we need to support our operations. It's just this, you know, ability to finance, you know, large-scale projects like Schenectady is doing. We don't have that ability. We did do a significant investment to get Plug Power here. And again, we utilized the resources of the IDA reserves. Chairman Clay was just fantastic with that. You know, the IDA put $2 million into that, and then we're putting another $3 million in through the STAGE Act monies. But again, you know, that is 1,600 new jobs. They're ahead of their projections on job growth right now. But that's 1,600 jobs over 5 years, which we've got 3 more years left of.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Yeah, like I said, not everybody necessarily knows because they're,
Right.
some just got elected. And the last one was, I think you had a lot to say, you had a lot to go over. You sort of, I think you missed the workforce development part.
yes, I did.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know that's a really important part of this, is
Yeah.
having the
You
right
know,
people ready to go, and how
right.
do we go out and find them?
Right. You know, we've got some great resources in the region. Brian Williams from the Workforce Development Board has just, you know, he's an absolute pro in workforce development. The county gave them a pretty significant ARPA award. I think it was $1 million. You know, that's gonna go a long way in helping develop the workforce and connect the workforce with the companies. We've also got a tremendous resource, and again, the CRC was instrumental in financing probably the single best occupational workforce development buildings in the state, and that's the BOCES Career Development Center up in Colony. That was a $60 million project before I came on, and if any of you have not seen that, I would suggest you go up there. The facilities they have to train kids in automotive technology, like, you know, to be an electrician, plumbing, all the trades, healthcare, smart manufacturing, they can handle some 900 kids a day at that facility. And they just came back to Chairman Demolowitz in the CRC and are doing an addition onto that to the tune of about, I think about $25 million. So we've got the resources to do that. One of the things that we require of every company that we support is that we do an economic impact study on that project to make sure that there is going to be a net benefit for the county in doing that. And we also, on the larger projects like Plug Power, we have what they call community benefit agreements. And in Plug Power's example, part of the community benefit agreement was to support workforce development in the county. Now, the biggest challenge that we have is trying to push these jobs down into neighborhoods that have been chronic, that have high chronic unemployment. And, you know, that's something that we just have to work harder on. But we've got some great resources out there in BOCES and the Workforce Development Board. And, you know, if we can't tell companies that we have the adequate workforce, and not only just say, okay, yeah, we've got them. They want to see exactly, you know, what are the facilities that you have training that workforce, how many people are going through there. So, you know, we've got, you know, we're able to quantify the number of people we've got going through our community colleges through BOCES and the Workforce Development Board. Governor Hochul just announced a large workforce development initiative herself to the tune of $100 million. Now, that's a statewide initiative, but you know, she recognizes that the demand for workers to fill all these, you know, manufacturing jobs and other companies we're attracting to upstate, you know, has to be there, or we just simply won't get, we will be in consideration.
I know can I just finish? I just want to follow up, Earl, sorry. So one of the things we mentioned the other day is, you know, high school kids, it's a longer term plan, but having been a teacher, right, these kids don't know what jobs are out there. We're sitting right here, I was in Ravenna, 10 minutes, 15 minutes from Albany, they never heard of Regeneron. They didn't, right, and that's I've sent a bunch of kids there as a biology teacher that now work there.
Yeah.
But have we looked at in some of these project plans, asking them to go into the schools, to not just say, hey, this is a great company, but if, here's the jobs we offer and here's the kind of training you'll need, to direct it that way.
Yeah, you know, Matt, you probably know the guys down at TCI down
Yes.
in
I visit them a
the
lot, they do a lot.
Queen, you know, the Carver Industrial Park across from the port.
Yep.
I mean, these guys, we just gave them a loan of, how much?
It's a stage grant of $150,000.
$150,000 stage grant. And these guys are just textbook. They hire every year from the graduating class at BOCES. They have relationships with the Ravenna School District down there. You know, but that's something, you know, they're
But they
doing-
do a good program. They come into the
Yeah.
schools and they say, hey, here's the jobs we offer, here's what you need to do to be able to get in that job and keep that job. And they bring the kids down into any of the interested kids to the facilities to see the workplace.
Right.
So I'd like to see that more in some of these other projects, whether it be Regeneron, Plug Power, if we get to semi-industry, you know, semiconductor stuff, nanotech, so that these kids, and when they're coming out of high school, they start thinking, hey, this is a career path, I need to prepare for that.
You know,
Rather than trying to
listen-
say, hey, try this now.
You know, we have some challenges. You know, our kids are not having kids.
Yep.
Birth rates are dropping through the floor.
Yep.
The number of graduating high school students is down and not expected to go up until 2035.
Right.
You know, one of the sadder stories we have in our community is the closing of the College of St. Rose.
Yeah.
And it's not the first. College of New Rochelle is closed, Canisius College, and we're gonna see a lot more. And the simple fact of the matter is, there aren't enough kids to support all the colleges out there. And, you know, maybe we'll be able, you know, the Center for Economic Growth is starting a campaign to attract people into the region for the quality of life and the jobs that are here. But, you know, that's gonna be a real challenge for us. You know, we've just gotta reach down and, you know, make sure that everybody's aware of the resources. One of the unfortunate circumstances, and I've talked to Vice Chairman Willingham about this, is the City of Albany School District is one of only 2 school districts in the entire state that does not participate in the BOCES network.
So all of that,
It's-
that's being done? Again, the city's left
Right.
out?
And it's.
What happened to the Manny
City,
Brookins
yeah.
BOCES program?
You know, it's just
What are you talking about?
They stopped it?
I mean,
Manny
I don't
Brookins
wanna
used to-
interrupt him, but, you know, we, since you brought up BOCES, and I got my personal tour,
right,
and that place is fabulous.
right.
I mean, whatever you can think of that somebody needs to be trained in, from, you know, mechanics as far as big trucks are concerned, to nursing, I mean, I just can't even name everything. But the heartbreak for me was when I found out, and that was just, I can't remember how much money you said we're getting ready to pour into them again. City of Albany kids,
They don't participate.
we don't participate. So,
Because the City of Albany created their own career development, the Brooklyn.
They're Brooklyn, right?
a Brooklyn
you know,
is.
Bob-
Two both
say-
wave their hands, so they're both same time.
It just pales in comparison to.
Oh, my
what
God,
we've got up
it's
at
sad,
BOCES.
it's sad.
In that project, when that first came to us, that was a colony project that they really couldn't handle. They're CRC, and we stepped right up and said, we can do it. I don't know, I didn't know if we could do it or not, but, you know, when I see the opportunity, I take it. And we partnered with Colony. And since then, this is our 3rd project with BOCES, partnering with Colony, and it worked
listen,
out great.
You're partnering with a school where, when we look at the graduation rates,
Right,
we know where the lowest graduation rate is, you know, of any cohort that you can think of. It's right here in the city of Albany. And, you know, where all the things happening, you know, it is right here in the city of Albany. And I wouldn't dare say that we shouldn't do what we're doing, you know, at BOCES. I wouldn't dare say that,
Yeah.
okay? So, one of the things I have been examining, that I'm just, you know, I don't want to take up anybody else's time here, is that when I'm looking at all of the different projects, you know, and where they are, okay? We just tried to get a measly $450,000 for down there on the corner, and people, you know, acting like we had just went and robbed, I don't know, the Bank of America or Chase. you know? And so when we sit in a meeting like this, to realize that, you know, Albany County really is making great investments to benefit everyone, okay? The reason for this meeting was to really understand exactly, you know, all of the work, in a short period of time too, when you think about it. I mean, I know from when you started, okay? I think what might be missing is the understanding of your responsibility as how far you take something before you shift it out to somebody. You know what I mean? We're identifying the spots, but I did hear you say now companies are coming to you to, so what is, you know, the Alliance responsibility from the beginning, just let's say? You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
people can get a really better understanding of this is how it starts. You know, and you could use the South End grocery store as an example, you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Of what not to do.
We can do better than that.
Well,
I was gonna say, we got another, Others better than
what I'm
that.
trying to say is, you start somewhere,
Listen.
you gain control of a site, that's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
That's right, that's right. You know, listen, we, the very beginning, you know, our staff travels all over the country. We go to trade shows, we try to develop leads, we try to identify companies that are interested in moving here. We'll be going at the end of this month to the Offshore Wind Conference and meeting with offshore wind companies. We'll be going to the Select USA show down in Washington, which is all foreign companies. So we get leads that might be interested in the county. We show them sites, you know, whether it's, you know, the South End Grocery or or you know, Vista Technology Campus in Delmar or the Altech Steel Plant. We then work with them to put together a financial package, which we use all the resources that we have, whether it's the CRC if it's a nonprofit, or the IDA if it's a private company. We have our stage grant, we have the Altech Trust Fund. We can provide property tax abatements, sales tax abatements, mortgage recording tax abatements. But the other piece that we do for the companies is we kind of run interference for them with the municipal governments. You know, a lot of these, they don't have the relationships that we do. And so we can go in and talk to them, talk to the municipal government and tell them about what the project is, what it's about, what it's gonna mean for their community. And in the same token, we will not push a project into a municipality that doesn't welcome that project. I've been doing this long enough to know that that is a lose-lose game. That if a community doesn't want a project, there's no point in pushing it. The thing that I encourage all of the communities to do is to think about the development that they want to see happen in their communities and make it relatively easy. And the things that they don't want to see happen in their community, make it impossible. So you don't waste anybody's time or money and doesn't give the region a black eye or anything else. That's the worst that can happen. You know, in the case of the South End grocery store, we tried, you know, to address some of the food scarcity issues in the South End. We tried to open up a grocery store. Listen, it was a risky endeavor from the get-go. Some people told us that it was probably unlikely to work, but you've got to try sometimes. It didn't work out, but I think we have to secure that site. We have to secure it, maintain it, and make it ready for whatever it is that's going to come next. The challenge is going to be exactly what I was talking about before. What does the community want to see happen there? And is it viable? I don't believe that a grocery store is viable in that building. Maybe if we knocked down that building and built a larger facility, since you've passed that and got into the papers, I've gotten some great ideas about, you know, a wellness clinic to do screening for various health issues in the community. Maybe do something with Whitney Young to do a food truck park where we train people from the neighborhood in culinary skills to work in food trucks and have a food truck park, which they have in many cities around the country. You know, but the thing that it's gotta be something that the community wants to see happen there and will support. You know, we've got some very interesting things happen there. We've got, you know, Business for Good has redone the old Lombardo's into the Hattie's Chicken Shack, and if any of you haven't been there, it's amazing. The guy spent $3 million, Ed and Lisa Mitzen spent $3 million redoing that place. Charlie Toohey and Alice Green have plans for doing some affordable housing across the street in the so-called Masons Building and the empty lot on the other side of the cultural center. So there is some activity down there, and maybe whatever happens on that corner of McDonald's could support or be synergistic to those other developments. But the trick is going to be, you know, and Wanda and I have talked about this, and I know Carolyn has some thoughts about this, is, you know, how and who do we bring together to decide what we want to see happen on that site? But in the meantime, we're going to, even before we buy it, I'm going to enter into an occupancy agreement with the cultural center to take it over and just maintain it. It's, if anybody thinks entrepreneurship is dead in the South End, they're wrong. Because there was some enterprising individual who was parking cars in the McDonald's all through the NCAAs.
Yes, eh?
Wasn't working for
Wasn't
us.
us.
Wasn't working for the cultural center.
Yeah, but they made it work.
Yeah, right.
But
God
not
bless
only
them.
that, they're
Right.
gonna take the money and do some
saw it.
projects for kids.
I did see him there.
Kev, on that Regeneron,
Joey said,
are they gonna keep
I
that
saw it.
building, or are they gonna build a new
Park.
building there?
We hope both, Gary. They are gonna keep the existing building, but there is enough property on that site for them to expand and do other things. But they haven't told us that yet, but that was their thinking in getting that footprint. So that's almost 20 acres there.
Are they gonna, so they're gonna, you're looking at 80 new jobs?
80 new jobs to start out, but more to come. And this is Regeneron Pharmaceutical Company. And I'll tell you, you know, we've had great cooperation with the former mayor of the Village of Manans, Meg Grenier, and the current mayor, Brian Marsh. They were just perfect. The Manans Building Department was a pleasure to deal with, and
Good.
just a great experience.
What I'd like to see more of, and maybe we can incorporate this into our applications, is that, especially if we're given the abatements, you know, the monies, the dollars, how many Albany County jobs are actually coming to Albany County? You know, that's my big thing.
Well,
Like Plug Power, we give them $5 million.
Yeah.
How many of those people actually live in Albany County, paying Albany County taxes to offset all that abatement that they get and all the money they get? That's an important part of this whole picture too, is this, we're all sitting here, we want to make jobs for Albany County people, despite what the TU says and what everything else says with this regionalization. I'm concerned about Albany County, and that Albany County's people are working first.
yeah, well, you know, we have historically low unemployment. And some people say it's almost full employment with the ebb and flow, it's down around 3%. And we're lucky to be able to get people from elsewhere to come into Albany County to work, because,
Well, I can take you over to Miss Willingham's district, and I can assure you that there's a lot of opportunities for people to work and looking for jobs, you know.
but, you know, all these people that come into the county, you know, spend money here, buy gas, buy food, you know. But I don't know the answer to your question, Chairman. I don't know. how
I
many
understand
people-
that. But see,
I could probably find out. I don't know if they must keep, I don't know if they can tell
well,
me, but.
They do, but
that's my point completely, because when we did the Fuller Road project with the Zen Building, and they were all gonna supposed to come and work these jobs, 1,000 jobs supposed to come into the city of Albany, support Albany, they didn't happen. They get in their cars, they hop on the thruway, Northway, they go up to Clifton Park. They come back down, go to work inside the Zen Building, come back out, up to Clifton Park. Albany did not benefit from that project on Fuller Road at all.
Well, you know, you've seen, you know, I don't think the housing developments on Fuller Road that have been built would have happened without that building. But I hear your point, but, you know, there are people in Albany County that work in other counties as well, you know. I'm not sure we want to start to.
Oh, no, but my point is, we're paying our tax dollars to these companies to bring them here.
Right.
That's my point.
I don't know, what are you suggesting? Some sort of residency requirement for private companies?
No, I mean, no, I'd just like to know, yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
Don't they report?
You know, you should, what's that,
Don't they
Sean?
report back to the IDA and CRC?
Yeah, just say,
They just add as-
I wouldn't put a quota on them or anything like that.
But you can
I
add
would
a
say,
zip
how many
code
of these
requirement.
jobs, when you fill an application out, it tells you how many jobs you're gonna create.
Right.
But you-
I would like to project how many of these people have jobs, 80 jobs at Regeneron, we'll pick on that. How many of those 80 jobs are gonna be for jobs that are coming from, new jobs for Albany County residents? Or how many are just gonna come over the bridge from Rensselaer?
Well, you know, the irony of it is that the senior people at Regeneron that we were dealing with all live in Albany County. You know, they go across the river and work in Regeneron, but they all live in Albany County, out in Bethlehem, in Loudonville.
Yeah, well, that's fine,
But
but,
you know, Chairman, I'll look into that. I don't know. I never asked a company to break it down by where their employees live. I don't know if we can, or I'll try it.
well, they know, human resources know where everybody,
Well, the IDA and CRC they have an annual report that they have to submit. They should ask for zip code
Well,
information.
yeah, we could change your
Appointment by
application.
It's
zip
just-
code.
The point I want to make, it's a very tight labor market. and
Yes, I
Companies
agree.
are getting people wherever they can, you know,
Yes.
it's a tight labor market.
Mr. Epicuro.
Yeah, thank you very much for the comment. Quick question, the central warehouse, $10 million that you're trying to get, is that just to demolish, or is that to make the place also ready, like a shovel-ready site?
It's just for the demolition. You know, it's a very, very difficult building, you know. There apparently, between the floors of each one of those floors there's a cork layer, and that cork is in there with an adhesive that has asbestos in it. So this is a very, very costly demolition. And that money, I hope that the 10 million covers the cost of demolition. I'm not, you know, that we're still waiting to hear back what the final cost of demolition is there. But that includes nothing else, that's just demolition. And there is going to be other money required to develop that site into whatever it is, you know, maybe water, you know, that site sits on top of the historic Lock 1 of the Erie Canal, which, you know, made, you know, opened up industry for upstate New York, and so, but yeah, that's just the demolition.
All right. Just a second question. Have you had any meeting at all with anyone from like the College of St. Rose or anyone else with regards to the buildings that they are leaving behind and what is going to become of those buildings?
I have to disclose, I am a member of the board of the College of St. Rose, so there are certain things that I can't disclose. Right now, the college has announced that it's closing after the spring semester. It's a horrible development. It's, the Sisters of St. Joseph de Carondelet started that college 103 years ago as a refugee for young Catholic women. And ran it for 103 years, and the market just fell out. The college is, there have been a lot of, you know, recommendations, but I don't think anything's gonna happen until the college closes and the whole closure process goes through. I would just offer a personal opinion from being a resident of that neighborhood and a resident of this city for 43 years. The closing of the College of St. Rose is devastating. It will leave a gaping wound in our city that I don't think we really appreciate the likes of which.
Mr. Epicuro, the bondholders are the ones that are gonna have the say. Because that's a privately owned facility,
Right.
okay? The bondholders are the ones that are gonna control what gets sold, what doesn't sold, and what they're gonna do with that. Because they're the first ones in line to get their money back. And they're gonna decide how they're gonna what they're gonna do with that building, with all those buildings. And some of those buildings aren't gonna be as easy to sell as you think, because they're all specialized for dorms and, you know, the bigger buildings, you know, St. Joseph's Hall and Media Center and the other ones, those are fine. You could readapt those into some kind of businesses. But as Kevin said, what's the unemployment of the year? The occupancy rate in what? Downtown Albany, 60%? I mean, it's outrageous. So, I mean, that's gonna be a tough sell. And Albany Med isn't interested. SUNY doesn't want it, they're not interested. You know,
Actually,
so it's gonna be a challenge.
You know, the college spoke to every single college around to see if there was some way that something could be done to reuse those buildings and it just nothing.
It's gonna be a challenge for all of us, and hopefully we'll be involved to help them
Right.
in some way. Kevin, do any of these organizations, any of these companies that come in have apprentice programs for adults? So that when they come in, like Regeneron, if they're gonna bring in, I'm just picking on them because they're the latest.
Yeah.
But if they come into Bonanza and they're gonna say, well, we're gonna have 35 new jobs, is there any kind of apprentice program where they can bring in someone to train them,
Yeah.
to help with these
Regeneron's
jobs?
Probably not the best example because they're mostly scientific jobs, you know, they're
Okay.
biologists, chemists and the like. But Plug Power, for example, you know, they'll hire somebody with no experience, no skills whatsoever, and they will train that person to do the job. And for those of you who've been to Plug Power and walked through there, it is a model of a diverse workforce. I mean, you see every race, you know, men, women, it's really an impressive place to see. And by the way, if any of you would like to take a tour of Plug Power or, you know, like Wanda did with the BOCES facility, we'd be happy to set that up for you, and I'd encourage you to do so, because it gives you, you know, I don't know about you, but I have a much easier time thinking about things when I have a visual point of reference,
Sure.
you know.
Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
No, I'll defer to anybody on your committee first.
All right.
Yeah, I had.
Yes, Mr. Clinton.
Thanks. Appreciate that. So your budget's $500,000 a year?
That's our steady state, that's what I've gotten the last 3 years. This year, we got a little bit more because there's some ARPA funds around.
And, but you think you guys would be more effective if you had a higher budget?
Yeah, because you know what I could do, if there was, you know, let's say tomorrow, I had a company that said, listen, we'll move 5,000 jobs into the Altech steel plant. That's gonna cost, we're gonna have to support that with millions of dollars of incentives. Because, let's face it, New York is a high-cost place to do business. It's the reality of it, it's just what it is. And right now, what Schenectady does, Schenectady issues bonds, so they'll have maybe $50 or $100 million in bonds. They'll use the sales tax revenue to pay the debt service on those bonds, and they can go out and get a casino to locate to their city, get, you know, big manufacturing facilities, redo their downtown corridor. That, I've got plenty of money for staff. It's the deal money that we don't have access to.
But that is, the level of funding, I'm a little confused about this.
Sure.
The level of funding that you're talking about sounds like it's millions of dollars.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
I
so,
would say if, you know, I could justify a $10 to $20 million a year expense on economic development for this county, because listen, what better thing can you provide to the residents of Albany County than to give them economic opportunity, to give them a chance to take care of their families, to, you know, get their piece of the American dream, to climb up the ladder. You know, it's, in my mind, you know, it's a justifiable expense. But there are a lot of people, you know, right now we give our tourism folks, the hotel tax and part of it. We give the convention center some of the hotel tax, county gets some of it. And that's fine, I'm not looking to take money away from anybody else. But all I can say is that if we want to be able to play the game, to the extent that, and I don't mean game, that's wrong, if we want to be in this space, we have to provide the resources necessary to do it.
I mean, do you have a particular, do you have an ask? And do you have some, like, sort of analysis or whatever that would justify that ask? Could you give us, like, case studies where, hey, we could have gotten this, but for the fact that we didn't have enough money?
Well, listen, we're only a couple years old here, but the thing that I could tell you is if Albany County was in the economic development business over the last decade, Regeneron would be on this side of the river, not the Rensselaer County side. I feel pretty strongly about that.
Put it.
Well,
I think you could have,
pretty much what
you know,
Mr.
up
Corn is
in the
looking
airport.
at, saying is in generating
Demands.
revenue, is that the fact is, we've been down this road years ago with trying, well, sure, man, when we tried to take 1% of the hotel, add up 1%, not take, but add 1%
Yeah.
to the hotel tax. I don't know if you remember this, a few years back, and we got shot down. Our delegation was fine with it, but we're not the only county that has the same problem.
No.
Because if they were gonna do it for us in Albany County, they were gonna have to do it for the other 15 counties that are looking to do the same thing. And the leadership up at the state at the time kiboshed us on it, and that's what happens. We looked at even if they took, which I talked to the chairman, Cunningham this afternoon about, is trying to get with our delegation at the state to even allow us to take that IDA funding that we have, the IDA money, and use it for economic development. That's what that money's supposed to be for. We have 6-7 million in that, Kev, right? And it's almost virtually impossible to spend, because it's so controlled and regulated by the ABO, the Authority Budgets Office. And so, yeah, we need to find a steady revenue source for economic development in the county in order to compete. You know, and the Albany County is no different than any other county in the state. It's tough to compete in New York State because the companies don't come here because you got great workforce, that you got great water, there's a great infrastructure, because that's all pretty much the same. Today is how much money are you gonna give me to move my business here to Albany County? Because Rensselaer County is gonna give me $5 million. What are you gonna give me? And that's pretty much what it is today. It's a bidding war.
Well,
We
it's
don't,
also,
we don't, what's that?
it's also global, it isn't just
Yeah,
this area.
absolutely, absolutely.
Companies are looking in
Everywhere,
other
they're
states
going
and
for the
other
best deal.
countries.
But we don't have the revenue source that Kevin needs to compete with us. And Schenectady's the only one they did in the state.
Yeah.
Once they did Schenectady, we came back after the year after they did Schenectady, and they told us no. No, and I don't know, for some reason.
Well, so if one of the takeaways from this is that you need more money, I don't have enough to intelligently evaluate what you're asking for or how it would be effective.
Yeah, there are discussions that are happening, with the county executive and with the chairman of the legislature and our state legislative delegation that I'm not privy to. What I can tell you is that, don't give me the money if I don't show you the results. But I've shown results here. I can show you what I can do if I have the money.
Or how about show us specifically what you would do with the money?
Well, I can very easily do that.
Okay. That would be helpful.
Yep.
Where do you think the money should come from?
Sales tax.
Sales tax.
What did he say?
Sales tax.
And
Sales tax would be the best regenerator way to do it, but
No, it's tough.
that one's gonna be a heavy lift.
And I mean, I don't want to open up a can, but if you were going to sort of help us with that, we would probably want to see analysis of any sort of downward pressure an increase of sales tax would put on economic development.
Well, the projects that we do, generates sales tax. And, so maybe you tell me, we're not gonna give you a percentage of the sales tax, but we'll give you a percentage of the incremental sales tax revenue that you generate by the projects you engage in.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Hold me accountable, hold our economic development. It's not me, it's all of us. It comes down to, what do we want to see happen? And how do we line up the resources to do it? And some of this is going to be an investment. You've got to put money in, and it may take a couple of years. In a past life, I ran the Center for Economic Growth, and we started marketing for then what we called the microelectronics industry in 1996. It wasn't until 2008 or 10 that we got our first, the Global Foundries plant up in Malta. We've got a great site in downtown Albany, the Liberty Park, where the convention center was originally supposed to be. Maybe that's a site that you could do. It's not going to be commercial office building, I can tell you that.
Frank, do you have a question?
Yes, with Plug Power moving their offices from Latham Colony over to the new location, are you looking to backfill that with any industry or any other companies? Are you promoting that?
Yeah, well, I was talking to Sean McGuire, who's the economic developer for the town of Colony, until he got hired by the land bank. But I think you're gonna see that space fill up pretty quickly. I don't think
No,
you're gonna have.
that's good, that's
Yeah.
encouraging. I'm glad to hear.
The property owner happens to be Dan O'Brien, who's a very, probably one of the better realtors in the region, NAI platform. And, nobody likes to lose a tenant, but I think you're going to see that space. The reason why Colony is such an attractive location, it is basically the north, south, east, west crossroads with I-90, 87, Northway. It's right near the airport. You've got, there's a lot of investment interest up there, and not just for the retail stuff along Wolf Road, but, Tom Burke has the old Engels Farm property. That's 30-something acres, right back, along the border of the airport. And, Colony's problem is not the lack of demand, it's sometimes the land use planning issues can get
I agree.
tough.
I agree in the building department. In fact, I had a conversation with the new director of the building department last night, and we were talking about that
Yeah.
the town needs to become more consumer friendly, without a doubt.
Well, Frank, it's just, what do you want to see happen? Make it easy. What don't you want to see happen? Make it impossible.
Now, are
It's
you
just-
assisting with other projects? As an example, we'll talk about retail. Crossgates had their issue with their financing, and Colony Center now seems to be having some issues. Do you assist with any of that at all?
No,
No?
it's not part of the strategy.
Okay.
We're probably, we're going on 4 or 5 years. We'll probably refresh the strategy, but, usually retail is follow-on activity. If you've got a vibrant economy, and I'd love to see Costco, but if you've got a vibrant economy, retail follows. You're gonna see, if GE goes down into the Port of Queens, you're going to see retail popping up, small business, mom and pop retail popping up left and right down in Ravenna and Queens.
No, I'd agree.
And, what you're talking about is a little bit more sophisticated in development, but, retail's a dicey,
That whole industry is changing, though. That's why Crossgates
It
and
is,
Colony Center
right.
can't pay their, they
Brick
can't pay their
and mortar
mortgage.
is
60% of the Christmas business was done online,
Right.
and it's gonna be even more next year. I mean, I do it online. It's easy,
They haven't,
you know?
had one here over
You
here.
deliver it right, they deliver it right to your house.
Conferences say, it's gone from brick and mortar to click and order.
Yeah, yeah.
That's,
And I look at some of the other areas, even in the town, I mean, a lot of my focus is in the town because I live there, but I look at the old Turf Inn,
right.
and, something has to happen there as well.
And I think that, I mean, look at the spectacular building that Frank Adams and Fenway Asset
absolutely.
Management just put up there.
Yes.
I mean, if any of you haven't been there, I haven't been there, but my wife has, unfortunately. The Frank Adams store is spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got, I'm told, it's got a bar in it.
Yeah.
You know, what a brilliant, let people put a couple of drinks in and
Well, you know,
let them buy jewelry.
Glenn Peters was the first one with that.
Was it
So,
so?
you know, yeah, and he did it, and he was smart.
Well, somebody got
Jeff,
some
he
money
was
to
smart.
spend.
He
You know
would
that,
give it
right?
to the non-for-profits to use it
That's
as,
right, that's right.
to host the fundraiser. You know, and it gets them all in there to look around, they buy something.
Right.
So, Carolyn, did you have a question?
Yeah. that's
Yeah,
just
that
like-
worked, I watched at a party in there, at Glen Peters. But I wanted to go back to something you said earlier about, community engagement on all these issues that you're talking about. I was on the line with South Bend Community Collaborative,
Right.
who chomping at the bit to have you come and sort of spell out some of the stuff that you
They
just
promised not to ambush me this time?
They said, yes, and my name, right, the letter that's coming in, so I'll make sure you don't do it.
Okay.
People
But
need to be educated.
community engagement is very important to these,
Absolutely.
to the folks. So I'm just asking you, when you come to speak to them, because they're gonna throw some ideas at you about that grocery store. So I tried to tell them today, manage your expectations about what that building can do. It was McDonald's.
Yeah.
And you can't, you know, so, but they're very dogged in the way that they feel about health center, youth programs, senior
Right.
programs. Like, all of this can go in that grocery store.
Mental health clinic, that was one of the ideas.
So you're gonna get all that. So just be prepared.
Workforce Development Center, I heard.
Yeah, so they want to be heard.
Right.
So I would I'm asking you, to have some type of, once you have the meeting with the South End Community Collaborative, that there be something set up where people can come out and engage in conversation with the committee. Because without that, you're gonna get pushed back. I don't care what you do.
Yeah.
But as long as they have a seat at the table, I think you'll get cooperation, and you may get some very good ideas, such as the enterprising young men who, not so young, but who did the parking lot for March Madness. But those guys have a great idea because they use the money to run youth programs in the summer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That they do good stuff in the community. I'm not saying they do some other stuff on the side, but they do, their heart is in the right place. And it is about the kids in the community. So I just want you to be open
Yep.
to engage the community, that's real. That is very real. And someone mentioned the jobs and where the people, when I walked in, you were talking about you need to do better in terms of outreach. Some of this stuff you're talking about, I hear about it after the fact, the jobs are filled, or the training seats are filled. We gotta do better to get into these, and if you need to use us to do that, and get into this community engagement, to get the information to people, because like, this group is going through, right now, out at at BOCES, the seats were filled up before.
Yeah,
and
that's why they're in on.
Yeah, and then you try to find people to get them out there to get the job, because that's what it's gonna take. So better outreach, community engagement, I wanna be a part of that. And then what was this land you said Tom Burke owns?
The old Engels Farm, remember you know where the Desmond Hotel is?
Yes.
Remember the farm that was across the street there? Tom Burke, the guy who
I know
developed all the Dunkin' Donuts,
Yeah.
he bought that property. It's some 30-something acres. It's a great piece of property.
Yeah.
He's a big, massive owner.
Oh, she knows.
Thank you. Carolyn, you all set?
She knows the Dunkin' Donuts.
You all set?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Susan LaRilliard. I'm the legislator for that area, covering the Albany Airport
Oh, great.
and the Ann Lee home site, as well as,
Yeah.
I believe, probably the land to Tom Berkland you're referring to as well. So I had a couple questions, not necessarily related to that, but there's the NL Industries site that's on Central Ave, and
Yeah.
I recall that a couple years ago, the federal government bid it out, and someone did purchase that. Do you know what's going on there? Is that
It
part
was-
of
it
your
was,
plan? It's a lot of
frustrating.
land there on Central Ave.
You know, as you know, that was again another Superfund site,
Sure.
that was really bad stuff on the ground there. That was almost nuclear waste
It's
type
released,
level.
it's
But it's all
clean.
been, it's
Right.
all been mitigated now. The federal government did an auction, there were some local companies that bid on it, but then I believe, the last I heard, and Kevin, you may have heard something since, but a Chinese wholesale grocery distributor bought the property. And I don't think anything's happened there yet.
Nothing's happening.
So I really don't know.
I was just
Well-
curious on that.
Yeah.
And now as far as the Ann Lee home goes, so what is, I understand there's a study that has been undertaken
That's correct.
to look at uses for that property?
Yeah, we hired, the county hired Delaware Engineering to do a kind of pre-development study, so we know what's what, where the wetlands are, where the infrastructure is, what the geotechnical stuff is on the site. You know, whatever we do there, we have to do in cooperation with the Shakers.
Right.
And we've had conversations with them. Apparently, there's been a change in leadership at the Shakers, and they are much more amenable to being part of a development because they see it in their interests, that if there's a development there, they can leverage that, and more people will come through, and maybe some of the companies around there will contribute to their organization, which I think we don't even have to leave that to chance. We could require that of the companies that move up there.
So that's not what you mentioned was the Scannell of Amazon warehouse site, is it? You were,
No,
like they want a
Scannell-
warehouse there?
Well, Scannell did, yeah, that's really what they do. They do warehousing.
Is that on the table to even think of a
No.
warehouse in
Not,
that
not
setting?
as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's a beautiful
No,
site
listen,
and a lovely setting. The pond is there, the Ann Lee Preserve is there, we have the Shaker Heritage. Historic District is there.
right.
And I just think it would be a horrible
No,
loss to the community to have a warehouse put
Yeah,
there.
no, no.
And orchards.
You know,
Yes.
the thing that I see happening up there, more on the Heritage Park site, would be, you know, a light industry, or, you know, some people have said that semiconductor design firm, you know, that they hire a lot of smart young people, and they like campus settings with green space and an outdoor recreational area. That's what I think that site lends itself the best to. And, you know, somebody who would want to be near the airport, you know, people that are coming and going a lot. But we'll have to see, you know, there's nothing wrong with warehousing and distribution, you need it in an area, right?
Right.
You need to move goods and services, but I don't, in my opinion, it's not something that's worthy of the county's dollars to support. Because
That's good to hear.
it'll happen by itself.
Yeah.
Whatever happens with those developments and those sites, the legislature has the final say.
Right.
So nothing's gonna happen, it's gonna change until the legislature says it is what we want to happen with these properties. Wanda?
I was listening to what Susan was saying, having been here for such a long time. When it comes to anything out there, as far as the Shakers are concerned, and Ann Lee, those people have like rights, 99 years, you know, and all of
We
that.
just did a 50-year lease with
50-year
them
lease.
last year, was it,
Yeah, last couple of years.
a couple of years ago?
And so I think some of that is, I don't even want to call it a stumbling block, but those are the types of things that I think keep some areas from such as that. I mean, for years, I mean, I used to see the headstones going up down 87 right there. And a lot of people don't realize that that's what that goes along with, is Shakers, you
I
know?
think it was a farm family owned that, and a Boy Scout went, and that's that little hill you see? Yeah, that's the grave site, I think, for
Yeah.
that
You
farmer.
can see it on exit 3.
But that just shows you how strong and solid those rights are, and that even the highway, can't get rid of, certain things, as far as history is concerned. But I just have to say this. I remember when we had one and then we redid it, and what we had to go through to finally, get the alliance. And a lot of people may not agree with me, but I do know that Danny has been quite instrumental in moving Albany County forward as far as the alliance and what it brings. But I just don't think that people realize when, and we have to be a little bit more careful too. When we talk about economic development, there's so much more to it. And I just have to say this, the people in the community, I don't think really understand, and there's nothing wrong with that, but what really goes into it. Because, just like I knew that BOCES did not maintain, City of Albany schools, okay? And the reasons why. That's something that we got to handle over here on this side, okay? At the same time too, what makes Colony thrive so that the community is able to benefit, okay, from all of the things that's being done? Or even Bethlehem, or even Queens, the comment that you made. That is what is lacking as far as, let's say, the City of Albany is concerned. I finally heard something from me, a spark, as in regards to what should possibly happen with downtown and all of those buildings. We're not thinking we got to start thinking a different way, okay, as to what the uses are. I forget, if you look, there are pictures up that shows what downtown looked like when the railroad station was there. It was hustling, it was bustling, and so, the different types of businesses. But what else can we bring here that is, people will have the ability to see, we do have a pharmacy desert. There is no pharmacies around here. Yes, we definitely do have, there is a food desert. You can't go buy, an apple, okay? And so those are the things that people can see readily, okay? At the same time, when you look at Colony, you go up Route 9, you go up Route, people have these little plazas. They entertain, and help, so this group of people go there and this group, and they thrive, okay? Of that Loudon Plaza right there, I go up the street from my house and go in there. And those people but they keep the community alive with those spaces. That's what's missing down here, and the brain trust is just not there to imagine, just how great it can be. And I just feel so bad because we're not benefiting at all from what's being done all around us, and it's heartbreaking. And that's why those people have the ideas that they do. They're just trying to, from day to day, I need health care. From day to day, I need this. And they're looking at what's right in front of them. And I just want to say that, whatever you do in the other places, I got faith in you and I know you can do it here too.
Just you've got to provide the economic opportunity, and then you've got to connect the people with the companies. And it's not an easy thing to do.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Isn't that outside site Colony?
Yes, it's in Colony and Waterville. It's right on, it's right next to Louise's property.
Lincoln Avenue.
Lincoln Avenue, right.
Yeah, most of that's Colony.
I'm sorry?
Most of that's Colony.
Right.
I know where you're at.
So,
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a good thing.
I just wanted to say, before we adjourn, Kevin, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
What can we do to assist you as a committee of the legislature to help you promote more economic development in the
Well,
county?
there's something very specific, and that would be for all of the legislators to talk to the municipal leaders in which their districts lie, and, encourage them to think about what they want to see happen, and think about what they don't want to see happen and act on it.
Thank you. One more thing is, motion to approve previous minutes.
Second. Or someone.
Sean, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Motion to adjourn, Mr. Cohen. All in favor?
Sue, I heard Sue.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kevin.